Hello, and welcome to Effective Management of Change in the Implementation of Care Cloud at HCA. The team members are Hugo Ayala, Shayna Mailman, Josh Pierce, Aile Valdez, and myself, Alejandro Gallardo. The course is ADM 515, Information Technology Concepts. Professors Dr. Khalid Deeb, and today's date is July 20th, 2014. Introduction and Objectives. The objective is to implement Care Cloud, a cloud-based medical practice management solution at an HCA facility, which is a freestanding ambulatory surgical facility. We will address medical coding compliance in ICD-10 and also Healthcare Information Protection Act, also known as HIPAA. We will look to improve receivables management and also improve scheduling and patient engagement process. This should be a 2-year solution that will provide significant return on investment as the company is embarking on a corporate-wide ERP implementation program. We're looking to provide an integrated management of change process that includes not only the technical aspects of change but also the human side of change, all those what we call the soft side of change. Overview of HCA, Hospital Corporation of America, publicly traded company. Revenue in the first quarter of 2014 was about $8.8 billion. HCA owns and operates over 165 hospitals and surgery centers in both the U.S. and England, 205,000 employees worldwide. Each year, HCA invests about $1.5 billion in facility upgrades, which includes information technology. Vision of HCA, bettering the human condition, followed by their mission statement. HCA is committed to the care and improvement of human life and strives to deliver high-quality, cost-effective healthcare in the communities we serve. HCA supports all of their facilities through a division called HCA ITNS, Information Technology and Services. Here, one of their mottos is, or their core tenets is simplify IT, or simplify it. This particular facility is called Venture Ambulatory. It's an 8-bed facility that was acquired in 2008 by HCA and sees around 800 patients monthly with a staff of over 55 employees. The solution we're looking to implement, as mentioned, is a cloud-based solution, and the vendor selected in the vendor selection process was Care Cloud, and we will be using their medical practice solution. We wanted to do a SWOT analysis on cloud computing and the Care Cloud solution. So the strengths, it's an out-of-the-box solution. So there's very little infrastructure investment or software investment. It's scalable, so we can use as little as we want or as much as we want. Very quick deployment, very cost effective, and they have a proven track record of implementations of medical practices. The weaknesses, as with other cloud-based solutions, are security concerns around data storage, firewalls, etc. We have limited control to that data, and we're basically locked into the vendor. We're dependent on them. The opportunities that we see are as we increase efficiency in some of our processes, we're able to see more patients, increase our patient volume, and increase our revenue. We also have two important compliance-related issues around HIPAA and the medical coding ICD-10. The threats that we see here are around management of change and specifically around the human aspects of change. I think we have the technical side is generally tied down pretty well, but we have the politics and emotions of change. All those soft sides of change are just the majority of the time the reason that some of these change processes fail. And we also have competing implementations. The corporation is looking to implement the corporate-wide ERP, and we may not get support for implementing an interim solution. We did a return on investment analysis on the solution, and there's two parts here. If you look at the investment, the cost of acquiring Care Cloud, some customization, training, and project management, to a little under $54,000 for the 2 years. If you look at the return, we have significant reductions in overtime for the EHR clerk, which is the electronic health records clerk, and the admission clerks. But we also project that we are able to see 2% more patients, so that's going to increase our revenue significantly. We also factored in some customization charges for our current ERPs, as we still need to be compliant with the HIPAA and the medical coding changes. So that brings us to a little bit under $186,000 with a return on investment of 248% for those 2 years. So if we look at the threat in the prior SWOT analysis, we had management of change. So what is management of change? Management of change is basically a systematic approach to transition an organization from a current state to a desired future state. And we basically look at what the old process is, what are the elements of the new process, and what are the risks inherent to that change. There's 4 basic phases to managing transition and change. The first one is defining that change. What is that vision end state? The next one is determining the readiness of the organization, right? So here you gather and analyze data. You define what the current practices are, where are we going, what organizations are for this change, what are not, and you start developing a plan, right? So in developing that plan, you not only have, those workflows and procedures, which is the hard part of change, and the technical, what I call the nuts and bolts, but then you also have to start seeing what kind of buy-in you have, and you start getting into the soft part of change, the human side. And there you start deploying actions. You resolve any cultural issues or gaps or political gaps, right? All that political wrangling between organizations and management, priorities, training, tracking, evaluation, and monitoring of that process. And at the core of that is communication. So communication is key throughout all phases of that change. To illustrate the change problem, the best way I see is showing the change management iceberg. If you look at the tip of the iceberg, which is what we can see, that's 10%. That's the quality, the cost, the time. That's your issue. That's what you're changing. But under that is part of the iceberg that you don't see. That's 90%. That's all the emotional, unconscious, the human side of change. You have your opponents, your promoters, your hidden opponents. You have all the perceptions that this is not good for the corporation. You have what we mentioned before, the power, the politics. So if talking a little more about the politics of change, the recommendation here is to ensure that leaders map the political landscape of the organization. And, here's where you identify who are your key influencers and groups, and from there you assess their openness to change. There's a good, in this illustration, there's a good tool called the passion meter, and it's basically a traffic light where you can kind of categorize where those change agents are. How open are they to change? Are they green? Are they promoting and sponsoring your change? Or are they sitting on the fence? They could be sitting on the fence because they either don't care or because they've been burned in the past and they want to know more about the change. Same thing with your skeptics. They could be you could have your positive skeptics who, again, want to know more about the change, but until they don't know anything, they're not gonna be on board. The other recommendation is to determine where everybody is with regard to the change curve. So the change curve has four different elements. You have denial and resistance, very confusing. People are angry, they're aggressive, they don't understand. Energy is very high. But as time passes, people start, exploring. They start understanding. If you communicate correctly, you start getting their buy-in. And at the end, they're committed. They're able to focus, and they're able to move some of those people from resistance and denial to exploration and possibly commitment. So to conclude, we feel that implementing an integrated management and change process that not only includes the technical aspects of this very important cloud-based solution for HCA if we if we integrate the human factors like the politics and the emotions, we think that the organization is poised to benefit from this high return on investment of 248%. It's a short-term solution that addresses all the current compliance gaps, and it does not jeopardize the plan of the organization to transition to a corporate-wide ERP in the next 2 years. So we end with a quote from Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Thank you very much.